Yeah, Max asked me to talk about habits because it is something that him and I have talked about a number of different times when we get together. And I have read 3 books on the topic now and always looking for more. It's a very, very interesting topic. And excuse me. And although it's not specifically biblical, it's not in the Bible per se, it is, I think, very relevant to our spiritual life and our personal life. And as we're focusing this summer on growing together, I think it's a really great tool to have in the tool belt to know how to do, to understand, so that you can take your goals, the things that you want to do, and create habits out of them. And with those habits, you can achieve the goals. And on the opposite side, you can take the really bad habits that you have in your life and hopefully be able to destroy them and eliminate them from your life. So I just wanted to do like a really practical lesson. It's going to be fairly short, but we're just going to talk about what habits are, why they're important, and then I'm going to show you a behavioral model that is used to basically hack habits in your life, so you can create them and and use them for whatever you want to use them for. So first things first, I just want to give credit where credit's due. These aren't exactly my ideas. If you're interested in more information, there are 3 books that I recommend. The first is called Atomic Habits by James Clear. It's very, very good. If you're going to read one, that would probably be the one to read. The next is The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. And the third is Tiny Habits by B.J. Fogg. So all 3 of those are very, very good books if you're interested. But let's get started. So habits are basically just repeated behaviors. So they're things in your life that you do over and over and over again, things that you don't have to think about because your mind has put them on the back burner and just said, all right, we're just going to do that. The reason your mind creates habits is because it actually takes a lot of energy and time to make decisions. And so instead of making a new decision every time you're trying to do something in your life, your mind will create a habit loop, which just takes that decision and makes it very, very easy for your mind, and just puts it on replay. So I'm so sorry, I'm coughing all the time. But let's see. So an example that I will be using during this lesson is the example of flossing your teeth. This is something that took me for a really, really long time to make into a habit. It was something like I would do occasionally or every once in a while. But after reading about habits, it was something that I put into practice, and I was able to actually make a habit in my life. So if you think about it, flossing your teeth is not really something that you have to decide in the morning when you're doing. You're not like, oh, what time should I floss my teeth tomorrow? Should I do left to right, or should I do right to left? Should I do top to bottom or bottom to top? Like, should I use this kind of floss or that kind of floss? Those are just not things you think about because your mind has taken all those things and created a habit surrounding them. And so flossing just becomes part of your daily routine. And then you have the benefit of when you go to the doctor or the dentist, they say, oh, good job, you flossed your teeth, you don't have any cavities. And it's a win-win for everybody. Anyway, habits can have negative and down and positive consequences. So if you think about positive habits, they're things that you do that ultimately bring you to a better place. So you want those behaviors to be automatic. You want, like, working out or brushing your teeth, flossing your teeth, or reading your Bible. You want all those things in your life to just happen automatically and to be a habit. And then there's tons of other negative habits which you absolutely do not want to be part of your life because they can be destructive. I was kind of gonna think here about asking if anybody has any negative habits that they'd like to get rid of, that they'd like to share.
Oh, I can share. Did you freeze?
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
I think for me, like, the instinct to get on social media on my phone is definitely a habit. Like, I just do it automatically. And it's definitely something I know it's not helping my life in any way, and I don't want that habit, but it's very automatic at this point.
Yeah, that's a perfect example of a negative habit. Nat?
Putting the snooze on too many times.
Yes, I'm aware of that habit. So yeah, I'm sure everyone can think of things in their life that they're like, they just do, and you're just like, I wish I didn't do that in my life. And so hopefully with what we're going to talk about, we can find ways to break those. So I'm going to show you guys what is called the habit cycle. All right, let's see here. You guys see that? All right. So you can break down almost any human behavior into these 4 steps. So you have cue, craving, response, and reward. Because we've been talking about flossing my teeth, we can use that as an example here. So when I was trying to learn how to do this, the cue that I made was that every time in the bathroom, I had the floss sitting at eye level so that I could see right away when I was in the bathroom, oh, there's the floss. And that was the cue, which is basically the thing that happens that makes you want to do the behavior that you're talking about. So that's the cue. The cue in your mind causes the release of a chemical known as dopamine, which is a chemical that gives you desire to do things. Dopamine is actually one of the chemicals that gets released when you do certain drugs like cocaine, and what makes it actually so addictive. In response to the cue, your brain releases dopamine according to the strength of the habit, and it actually makes you want to do the thing that you are habitually used to doing. So in this case, I would really, really want to floss from that cue, which sounds kind of funny, but I would desire, that would be the craving, and then response, that would be the actual act of flossing, or any other act that we're talking about. And from there, you have the reward, which is your mind gives yourself a reward for doing the behavior that you wanted it to do, or it wanted to do, basically. And so in this case, the reward is kind of like a clean feeling in your mouth, and test report, and just the feeling that you've lost, which is great. So does that make, is that making sense to everybody? Yes? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, we're good. So then when you look at engineering a new habit, you kind of look at those 4 steps, those 4 pieces of behavior, and you look at how you can manipulate any one of those areas in order to make a habit more ingrained in your life. So that leads us to what is called the four laws of behavior change. So each of the 4 laws, each one is associated with one of the 4 parts of the habit cycle. The first, which is associated with the cue, is to make it obvious. So when you are designing a behavior that you want to do, you want to make it obvious. And this basically, it means exactly what it says it does. But the most powerful cues that you can have for behavior are places and times. So when you're trying to create a behavior, you want to sit down and you want to say, when do I want to do this? What time do I want to do this? Where do I want to do this? And you actually want to be just very specific about it, because if you have that time and place as a cue and you keep it consistent every day at that time and at that place, you're going to want to do that behavior that you have decided that you want to do at that time and place. Does that make sense? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So that's the biggest part of making it obvious is setting up your environment for the behavior. The second is make it attractive. And this has to do with your craving and your desire to do the behavior. To make it attractive, there are several tricks and things that you can do. One is our minds are very attached to social cues, to social pressures. So you can actually make a behavior more likely to happen by surrounding yourself with people who also do that behavior, and to surround yourself with a community. It's like peer pressure. It's like good peer pressure, like forcing yourself to do something by surrounding yourself. And that's really, I mean, when you think about church, in some ways, that's what church is. We are here peer pressuring each other to to do the things that we said that we wanted to do when we became Christians, and that's part of behavior change, is building a community around that behavior that you desire. A few other things that you can do is you can take things that you already really enjoy doing. Like, let's say, like, you really want to watch a new Netflix show and you really, really want to do that. But you also are trying to start this other new behavior. And so what you do is you just combine the Netflix thing with the behavior that you want to do. So it's something you want to do with something you have to do, if that makes sense. So eventually you're kind of training your mind with that thing that you really enjoy, and you start to really enjoy the thing that you're learning to do, if that makes sense. The third law of behavior change is make it easy. And this has everything to do with the behavior itself. But it is essentially just taking all of the barriers away from the act itself. So a really good example of this is exercise. So let's say that you want to make a habit of exercise, and to make it really, really easy, you want to set out all of your clothes, all your workout clothes, right where you'll see them. You want to have everything ready in your gym. You want to make sure your gym's like really close. You want to have your workout schedule all set out so that you know exactly what you're going to be doing. You just want it to be extremely, extremely easy, so that you have very, very, very little excuse not to do what you say. Another way to make a behavior really, really easy is to basically simplify it and shorten it to as short as it possibly can be. So let's say like you were wanting to do a habit of reading the Bible every day, and you've been trying to like just read like 10 chapters a day, but you couldn't do it because it was just too overwhelming. Instead of doing that, just promise yourself that you will read one paragraph a day. So it's just making the smallest commitment to just do the habit, because actually stringing together the habit is more, and building the habit is more important than the amount that you actually do. So once you have the habit going, you'll very likely do more of what you thought you were going to do. And so yeah, does that make sense to everybody? So we have make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and the last one is make it satisfying. And this goes right along with the reward, but it's basically just giving yourself a little reward for doing the habit that you really desire to do. So you can kind of use your creativity here in terms of what's appropriate for any given habit. Like if, I don't know, like if you're working out, it might not make sense to like have a bowl of ice cream as a as a victory for your habit, or it might make sense. I don't know. It depends who you are. But I think you guys you understand what I'm saying is just finding a way to give yourself a little boost, whether that just be saying good job, self, you did it, or it's actually having a little treat, or it could be, some people really enjoy habit trackers where you like make like a little X mark after you do something, and you're like, yes, I got the X today. So yeah, those are the 4 laws of behavior. And by manipulating those 4 things, you can take something that you want to do and you can make it into a habit. And I said that there's a creativity that kind of goes on with it, and that's kind of where it becomes fun, is being able to figure out, take the habit and then being able to figure out how to implement it into your life. And it's just, then it just becomes experimentation and figuring it out and just playing with it. And then before you know, you just have a new habit and you're just doing it and you're enjoying it. And so you may have noticed that I didn't mention breaking bad habits, but you can take all 4 of these laws and reverse them. So you have make it invisible, make it unattractive, make it difficult, and make it unsatisfying. So you can you could take any bad habit that you have and you can mess with these 4 laws of behavior change to make bad behaviors kind of ultimately disappear. And again, it's the creativity of figuring out how to make those bad behaviors less appealing. So yeah, so that's what I have for you guys. I thought